Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakat, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, consisting of the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, coming off the back of, pretty much two pieces of news, major pieces of news which have happened over the last few days. You've probably heard about it already. You've had the UN. They've announced a pact for the future. We understand that the pact for the future is pretty much a translation in, when you translate that into words within the Bible, within the scriptures, you're going to find the MOTB, Revelation chapter 13. Obviously it's worded differently, but it's addressing the same issue. And so we've had that announcement on Friday. We've had also an increase and escalation of attack, if you like, from the small hats in the Middle East. They started to step up the game a little bit over the weekend, and now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's the 1st of October. It's Tuesday morning. So to me, it's still Monday night, but really they call it Tuesday morning, and it's just been announced that the small hats, it's pretty obvious that it was going to happen. The small hats have started a ground invasion on Lebanon, and it was something that was expected. Just waiting for it to happen. It's pretty much, I think they've just announced it on the news. So that's something that's, like an increase, an escalation in what's happening in the Middle East. That's happening right before our eyes. I think a few days ago we had the Iranian, somebody in the Iranian hierarchy was pretty much, what's his name? Nasser Allah or something like that. He was assassinated. And, with that, you got a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, why aren't Iran doing anything? So we're going to go into that in a minute. But, these two major bits of news, they're quite major pieces of news, according to prophecy. We've been saying that, 2024 is the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. We believe that this is the beginning of sorrows, the beginning of Jacob's trouble, and everything will get a lot worse from here. But yet you've got a lot of Israelites, a lot of people of the world, some are awake. You speak to them about digital identification, so on and so forth, and they nobody wants to sound stupid. So they say, yeah, I've heard of that, I've heard of this, and I've heard of that, and they'll give you their little piece of what they know. Yet, these people aren't able to see the whole spectrum across the globe. So ultimately, they're still asleep. And what people can't really see of the world is that, the world, the society that we live in is pretty much heading into Jacob's trouble. We're walking straight into it. We can see it. We give the warning. Yet it's not so obvious to your average Joe. They know something's up, but they're not quite putting their finger on the button. And, I mentioned a few weeks ago, the phrase upside down, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai is about to turn the world upside down. I mentioned that, I brought that out from having a vision 6.5 years ago. Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai showed me certain things, certain aspects of the scriptures, of the truth, of what was to come. And, there was one thing that was confusing to me when I had the vision 6.5 years ago. And, these secrets can only be given to us by the Holy Spirit, by Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai. So, I mentioned seeing a map of the world upside down, and not really, because you can see the map of the world upside down in 2018, But what does that mean? It doesn't really make sense of what's going to happen in 2024. And now we're here, we're seeing it, and then it was revealed to me that, you know, the reason why the map was shown to me upside down is because now we're at the point where the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashim Hawashai is about to turn the world upside down. So he, you know, no man could really, you know, you could go through the scriptures, you can kind of, you know, connect, you can, you know, pull up these precepts, for example, Isaiah 24:1, as we're looking at here, behold, Yahweh maketh the earth empty and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it's the timing. So, you know, you can read the scriptures, read, you know, look at the vision that I had and say, well, okay, yeah, it relates to that, but it's all to do with the timing. And I mentioned 2024 being a big year. And so now we're here. This is the moment. And so now we're starting to see things that escalate. But like I say, the people of the earth, you know, they're a little bit, you know, there are people out there that claim to be awake, yet they're not really awake. They say, oh, you know, I understand this. They see things are different, but they're not really quite putting their finger on it. And there's plenty of people that I've told that, you know, I've told them in the course of the last six and a half years that you're an Israelite. And then what I find is, you know, down the line, as we get close to these times now, you may speak to them, bump into them again, and you realise they've got no real understanding of how close we are to this huge biblical event, Jacob's trouble. And so, you know, it falls back into line with people not really taking it seriously. They find out they're an Israelite, and that's that. They don't follow it up. They don't stay in touch. They don't keep watching, as the scriptures tell you. You know, we're out here watching. So, you know, we're able to talk you through every step of the way. So, with that, I'm going to leave the link for this video in the description box. Normally I take a screenshot. Actually, I forgot. Normally I take a screenshot with the details of the video on display, but I've actually forgot to do that. But it's not a long video. It's about 10 minutes, I think, 10-20 minutes. And what you see here, this video was posted about 8 days ago, and what you see here is your average typical viewpoint of, for example, the average Jake. This is a Jake in America, and he talks about, you know, the fact that the world hasn't been the same since 2020, but yet, you know, he talks you through his points of view. You've got the person in the corner, the bottom right hand corner, he, you know, adds more to it to fill in the gaps. Yet you've got this Jake just wandering around, not really with it. And all he keeps saying in the video is, you know, things are weird, this is weird, everything's weird, and it's weird, it's weird, it's weird. And that's the only answer you got. You know, people can see things aren't right. So they'll mention, you know, what happened in 2020, 2021. They'll mention the fact that people were kept at home, psychologically damaged, and the fact that people are different now. People are aware. They go out into society and they realise the love isn't there anymore. You know, people are pretty much working just to pay the bills. You know, the hope that people had in their little lives before 2020, you know, there was always some sort of little hope. You know, you can go and earn this, do this, make a nice life for yourself. And there was places you could do that. But now the world's running out of these places. It's running out of places to go to actually to do that. And so people are seeing it, things are changing, their relationships are changing. But yet, for example, this Jake here, he's got no idea, absolutely no idea what is about to hit him. You know, he's got his clean shaven face, so he's obviously he's not into the truth, has no idea. If he knew the truth, if he understood Yahweh Ba'ashim Hawashai, he wouldn't be making this video. And you know, these are what I call Scooby-Doo Israelites. Scooby-Doo Israelites. You see, where I'm from, if you don't know what's going on, we'll say to you that you haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Because Scooby-Doo is part of an investigation team. And as an investigation team, you're supposed to know what's going on. And they do. You know, when you watch Scooby-Doo, the investigation team, you know, you got all the different characters, and eventually, you know, end up solving this particular crime. But Scooby-Doo is the one that never has a clue, and that's why he comes across with that voice, Scooby. And that's what these Jakes are, these people of the world, the people who don't have this truth. They're like, 8 billion Scooby-Doos out there. You see, everybody's concentrated on their lives, on what they earn, on their relationship, who's my woman, who's not my woman, and what can I get, where am I going with it, and don't forget, in this world, it's only natural to think about your life, your progression. What are you doing with your life? Where are you going to be in 5 years, 10 years? Okay, you may not be a sports star or a famous personality or a rich person. You've got a steady job, and you've got a basic plan of structure of how you want your life to develop. But that's all starting to go out the window, and people can't really quite get their hands on it. But very soon, Yahweh Shai is going to make it known. These Scooby-Doos, they're about to get hit, and that's when you'll hear that Scooby. And this is what it is. When I look at these Jakes, I just see Scooby-Doos, a whole bunch of Scooby-Doos who literally have no clue. So you can watch this video, and he'll kind of give you a grasp of the mentality of the average Israelite who's about to get a real wake-up call. Not just in America, all over the world. You've got the MOTB, which is going to affect the whole world, which ultimately is going to bring a financial collapse of the monetary system. So this alone will cause turmoil all over the world. And eventually, when the ICBMs hit America, everything apart from the elect, everything, not just everybody, but everything apart from the elect in America will be destroyed. Yet the people also all over the earth will feel it, because the earth will shake, the ground will crack, and countries will move out of position and move into different places. So, I'm just touching on two, things as Jacob's trouble. It's a long drawn out event, a time like never been seen before, as described in Matthew chapter 24 by Yahweh Shai. But a lot of people, they're not really with it. I've got this other video here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the pact for the UN, they've come out and announced this pact. If you want a little bit of understanding on it, you can watch this particular video here. Again, this is just a short video. It's about 10-20 minutes. And this is, as you can see at the bottom here, House Republicans hold press briefing about US sovereignty and the world, I should really say WHO. I don't really want to spell it out, but say it out loud. But so what they do in this particular video, they go into the fact that you've had this announcement. This video here, this press conference was held before the UN made the announcement on Friday. And what they do is they take you through the actual details. They explain the fact that you can, they can have an amendment they want to make. And, you have to watch the video. They take you through all the details. So they explain how they push it through. The fact that if nobody argues back, they can push it through silently. So they push this bill through the UN silently, and by doing that, nobody responds to it. And then at a later date, they can say, well, this bill has been invoked because we put it through on that particular day and nobody responded to it. But they're putting it through silently to a certain degree. So, they kind of go into all that and explain what it means, the fact that it gives control to pretty much the UN or the WHO over America's affairs. And so this is quite important, because we keep telling you about this MOTB, and we keep saying that there's another pestilence coming. So once this pestilence comes, just like it was in 2020, 2021, the decision making will be given to the WHO. So this is a huge warning sign. We've been saying that, you've got this election coming up in America. The country's on the brink of civil war. The elites want to bring civil war. They want to bring a collapse in society. So they've got people on the edge of their seats. They've got them angry. and we keep saying, look, they're going to throw a pestilence. And once a pestilence comes, who's in control? The WHO. They start announcing, people can't come out of their homes, so on and so forth, just like before. So in amongst all that, you've got the power being handed to them. You've got this election been, on its way. So we've been saying that, look, whoever wins the election, there's a huge chance that that person, let's just say Donald Trump wins the election, there's a huge chance that he won't be given the chance to take over on January the 1st, 2025, because if America goes to war before the election or after the election, and for example, if Biden passes away at some point, that would leave Kamala in power. By America going to war, that would leave either Kamala or Biden in power. That would upset the American people. And then when you throw a pestilence out there and start telling the American people, on top of everything, you've now got to follow certain guidelines, this is all bringing America to the boiling point. So, these little bits of information are quite important, but, people don't see it. It slips by. It's like people expect to be notified in the news. It's almost as if they expect, certain things to be told in the news. This is something that's bad, that's coming, and you're going to have to deal with it soon, so they can warn them, protect themselves. And if you like, it goes back to things like 2020, 2021. You've got a lot of people that buy into the system of the government. So they sit there, they watch the TV, they give them all this information, this advice, the government give it to the people, and these people lap it up. And so because of that mentality, now we're at this point here, people aren't going to go into the corners. They're not going to go into the little gaps, the little cracks to find these bits of information. They're going to expect the government to bring it to them, but the government aren't going to bring it to you until it's too late. So they've put this particular thing through now, quietly. Meanwhile, people too busy interested with Diddy and sport and music, and just generally, trying to enjoy themselves. I'll also leave the link for this particular article here. I'm not going to read through it. You can read the title here: How WHO became China's such and such accomplice. And so, power being given to the WHO, for America, that's why people say that, ultimately they're giving control to China, because China fund the WHO. And so, that they have a lot of influence. If you read through this particular article, that will give you a little bit of backstory on that, if you're new to that understanding. So I'll leave the link for these two particular videos in the description box. You see, it's all quite important, because when you go back to what's happening in the Middle East, you've now got an escalation of events. You see, the UN are right in the thick of this particular scenario. The UN aren't part of the beast system, but on one hand, the UN have showed us that they've got this pact for the future. The fact that they've got this pact for the future, and once that particular thing is pushed through, they don't need permission. The UN don't need permission from particular nations to activate it, because it's already part of their, if you like, constitution. So the UN have this thing. They're not part of the beast system, but the UN can pretty much give out direction. They can classify somebody, a country, as being committing war crimes, and so they can sanction the EU and the NATO, which are the beast system. These countries that are part of the UN are, either part of EU or NATO at some point, some level, and so that's how ultimately it works. So the UN are involved with the pact, but at the same time they're also dealing with the situation with the Middle East. You've got Benjamin Netanyahu, who's gone to the UN on Friday. the UN have said to him, the US, America have said, look, can we please have a 21-day, 3-week ceasefire? And Bibi Netanyahu has pretty much blanked them. He's come out, he's given his speech, and he's basically announced that we're now doing the job that America used to do, which is defend the world against the terrorists. So, it's all happening in that little mix. And like I said before, when you look at all these events around the world, it's you try and link it up with this and that, and people get confused and lost through the route. Ultimately, it all goes back to the banking elites, and they've got that control within these organizations. And if you notice that particular organization, for example, the UN, they are right at the heart of these two major bits of information, bits of news that are coming out. So you've got that scenario, and then you've also got another scenario, obviously, with the fact, for example, like, those of us that know the truth, we're watching the Middle East, and a lot of people are wondering, why are Iran not reacting? It's been a year, and we're all waiting for prophecy to come to pass. And what a lot of people are doing is they're saying, well, why don't Iran react? Why don't you do something back? Come on, grow some balls and go do something back. But what's happening, you see, ultimately, this is all down to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai. Before I move on, you got Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. It says, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor any tree. It says, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. And so we believe that these servants, the elect, whoever they may be, the 144,000, we believe they have been sealed. That job is done, it's finished. And the Most High is literally about to make a visitation. So a lot of people are saying, why are Iran not reacting? They're not reacting. And it's all about, we're heading towards World War III. It's Armageddon. It's not going to be just some small little war that comes and goes in 2 weeks. This is a major event. Troops are going to have to go out. And they're going to be battling out there for only the Most High knows how long. And what it is to take the world into World War III, you've got to really be on a charge, on a march. So you got Benjamin Netanyahu, the spirit has been put on him. I know a lot of people like to call him certain names, but the spirit that he's had on him, I'm happy with that spirit, because ultimately that spirit is taking us to the fulfillment. He has to have that prideful, bold, arrogant spirit on him for him to lead us into World War III. Least of the flock shall draw out the other nations into World War III. So he's got to have the spirit on him to draw the other nations out. But the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, has to draw him out to draw out the other nations. Whose war is this? Yeah, okay, it's the banking elites, it's this, it's that. No, it's the Most High's. It's the Most High's. Like I say, that we believe that the servants have been sealed, and that those 4 angels on the 4 corners are about to let the wind blow, and that starts with Jacob's trouble. Then you've got Armageddon. You've got, in between all that, you've got the MOTB, collapsing society, and everything else that goes with it. And so you look at Iran. People keep saying, well, why aren't Iran reacting? The reason why Iran are not reacting, I haven't got this intelligence source from Iran. I didn't make a phone call to Tehran and find out what's going on. I got this through the spirit, through the Most High. And the Most High is controlling the war. And so the reason why Iran are not reacting, because they're playing a slow, pragmatic game. They're trying to be careful not to get into a regional war. What that's doing to Benjamin Netanyahu is making him more proud, more confident, making him build up a head of steam. You see, you got the October the 7th, and then the small hats have reacted. He's now using his excuses, and it's gone on for a year. And in that year, he's started to receive a lot of backlash. Obviously, we know him. We know that he has this life ambition to fulfill what he's doing at the minute. His idea is to clear that area of pretty much Ishmael. He wants to clear that area and have it for themselves. When you get into war, you don't just come out like a street fight and just start throwing your fists everywhere. You have to do it strategically. So they're coming out, and they've tested the waters because they don't know what they're going to get back in return. And slowly, as they don't get much of a reaction, it makes them bolder and braver. And so now today, they've just announced, they've got this ground invasion into Lebanon. This is Benjamin Netanyahu getting excited. He just took out the Nasrallah the other day. No reaction. Okay, you know what? We can do this again. Go and send out the ground troops. America are like, no, don't send the ground troops. So he's like, look, I'll send a small. We do I think what was the word they minimized. They're going to minimize the ground invasion and not make it as big as they could be. He's sending a minimal amount of troops. That's what he's said to them in return. You see, every time you've been watching the small hats hit Iran and Iran not respond, it's building up inside the mind of Netanyahu. So what? We can strike. They're not going to retaliate. Okay, cool. Or what? We can strike, and is that how they retaliated? That was nothing. Okay, let's do it again. And now we're at a point where he's getting so confident. They're starting to lick it bit by bit. Boom, boom, boom. He's just hit Nasrallah the other day. Now they announced the ground invasion of Lebanon. So from here on in, it starts to escalate and get quicker and get quicker. That whole scenario of World War III pretty much is in his hands. Whether the banking elites are advising him, whether they're not, he's the man that's coming out and giving the press conferences. The Most High has got him in the palm of his hand, and the Most High told you he's going to use him to draw out the other nations into World War III. But the Most High has to give him the balls to do that. And he's got him popping shots at Iran, and Iran are not retaliating, building him up. And so now you're seeing what you're seeing over the weekend. You're seeing, from a year ago to now, he's building him up. Look, he went to the UN on Friday. America addressed this 21-day ceasefire. Bibi blanked it. He blanked it totally. Imagine that. Imagine you ask someone a question and they don't even answer you. Imagine they just start talking without even answering your question. They blanked you. They just totally cut you out and disregarded you. That's disrespectful. If you went to somebody and asked a question and they started talking without even answering your question, you'd just walk away. You go, well, this guy's just disrespecting me. He's obviously showing me. Basically, fuck off. And obviously, like I say, behind closed doors, he said, okay, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll minimize my ground invasion of Lebanon. These Americans can't stop it. They're looking weaker and weaker by the minute. And so the whole thing is starting to fall apart. It's going in the direction that it's supposed to. But, like I say, you don't just go and start a world war, overnight, over a couple of things, over a couple of bombs. These people know when they go to World War III, there's going to be some major escalation. To turn that Middle Eastern battle into a regional war, it will quickly turn into a world war after that. People also say, why aren't Iran responding? Iran are responding. Iran are already at war, really, with the small hats. They're doing it through Hezbollah, through the Houthis, through Hamas. So apparently, the small hats dealt a major blow to Hezbollah, and people are saying, well, why aren't Iran responding? That is a part of Iran's proxy armies. So the fact that the small hats are getting away with it is building their confidence. And at some point, this Bibi Netanyahu is going to be so high off what he's doing, and the fact that he's getting away with it, and the fact that it's working, he's probably sitting there now going, well, it's been a year. No one stopped me. So who's going to stop me now? Do you see what I mean? You wouldn't say that at the beginning. You'd go into it like, I don't know, okay, yeah, we'll see how this goes. When you're a year in, you're going, well, this is me now. This is the new me. And these people ain't stopping me, so who's going to stop me? I can go to the UN, and when they ask me a question, I don't even have to answer it. And that's how he's been moving. So, the Most High is playing that game. He's building him up for him to grow the balls, to go in there and do some real damage. And when he does some real damage, and then you're going to see Iran come back. Obviously, the small hats have been doing a lot of damage over the last year. But there is a breaking point. We can see the escalation happening right before our eyes. And we know this is the time of visitation. I said before, and I'm going to keep saying it, because before 2024 came along, nobody was really talking about the solar eclipse. The solar eclipse that came in March. Come say April, May next year, 2025, that year that started off with the solar eclipse, it would have been gone. You won't be talking about it after that. This is the year to talk about the solar eclipse. So what does it mean? So that's why I keep repeating it, because you've only got a year in which we're in that year where we had the R and the Tha. There's only 1 year to live in it and witness it and see what happens. We're in that year, and so we've got to remember that means something. It's not just every day Yahweh Hashem Yahushai throws out the R and the Tha above America and completes that X. So Micah chapter 7 says here the prophet acknowledges, just need the first 4 verses. Micah chapter 7 and 1 says, woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits, as the great gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat, my soul desired the first stripe fruit. It says the good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. So they all lie in wait for blood, they hunt every man his brother with a net. It says that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asketh, and the judge asketh for a reward. And it says, and a great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. And you look at, like, for example, with this pact, the UN, the great man who spoke his desire, you have Klaus Schwab announcing, what they want to do. You will own nothing, be happy. A few months ago he came out and said this time next year X amount of people will perish, so on and so forth. And when it says the prince asketh and the judge asketh for a reward, that's bribery. And that's how they operate within these organizations. You've got the UN at the center of this pact, and they're manipulated by the elites. You've got Netanyahu, who's able to turn up to the UN, speak, go back home, and carry on bombing, trying to remove his enemy. Even though the UN come out and say, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, they're allowing him. They've allowed him for a year. So you have to ask yourselves, what's happening behind the scenes. Like I said before, all this boils back down to these elites. The banking elites, they probably got this idea that they want to take Iran. They don't have their own bank in Iran. You've got Bibi Netanyahu, who's the mule. He's doing the job. He's clearing up the area. And, they may end up involving themselves, they know that, with a war with Iran. But They know also that they can create World War III out of this situation. So that's why they're doing it piece by piece. Like I say, the fact that they've had a year now, Bibi Netanyahu starts to build up the confidence, or whoever's behind him, whoever's talking into his ears, that it's all going to build up the confidence. Look, Iran aren't doing anything about it. We've dealt with, we can keep warring with Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. People, there's a little bit of uproar around the world, but no major power has stepped in to help, to back the Houthis, the Hezbollah or Hamas. That's what they're waiting on. And every time they take out an Iranian general, an Iranian official, really Iran just to replace them like that. They come out with these stories in the media. They've taken out this high command in chief. They replace him within a day. This ain't the West. When you go over there, it's not the West. They don't have to go, do loads of paperwork, put it through the bureaucratic system, take months and months of approval and this and that. Nah, they'll get a man in the next day to replace him. And the ideology doesn't change, so it's not very difficult. They're saying that now that Nasrallah is taken out, the next person in his position has to, build it up the people behind him. This is not like it is in the West. The fundamentalists, the people that are really behind the powers that be, the ones that are really backing the powers that be, they'll back the powers that be in Iran, whoever's in charge. It's for that particular ideology. So you've got the small hats, they're taking out these officials, and Iran are not really reacting. That's giving them the confidence to start war on 3 fronts, and they're going at it. And now they're going into Lebanon, and so you're seeing it increase. And this is the Most High increasing the size of the problem that the small hats are creating. Meanwhile, it's forcing countries to break ties with the small hats. Like I say, you don't just go to World War III overnight over, what they call handbags. In England, we've got this phrase, it's just handbags. You see 2 men fighting, you look at them, they're drunk, they barely connect a good punch on each other, they're just slapping each other like little girls. It's just handbags at 6 paces. That's what we call that, handbags. They just might as well be flinging their handbags at 6 paces. This is World War III, Armageddon. The war to end all wars. Time like never been seen before. Great judgment coming to the earth. I'm expecting 4 billion dead at least. Come the day of the Lord, all the events that are going to happen. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just pulling out a number. But you go to the Book of Revelation. It talks about parabolically, blood being up to the chest of the horse or the camel. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of people are going to die. So Bibi and whoever's behind him, maybe it's the banking elites, whoever's talking in his ear, they want to fulfill the plan that they've got in that particular area. Don't forget, the banking elites helped them get in there in 1948. So it probably is them that's saying to them, now you need to start clearing up the land around you, get rid of these people, just push them out, and we can have that whole land for ourselves. If we get into a war with Iran, we'll take them out at the same time, we'll take their bank. But they're trying to do it strategically to not upset too many big players. But the more time that goes on and they're getting away with it, it's building up the confidence. And when it becomes such a major problem, these other nations will end up having no choice but to react. You got to realise, when it was just the small hats bombing Gaza, that wouldn't cause World War III. All it takes is Russia to come in and put a stop to that in 5 minutes. So that's not your World War III. They, like I say, they're battling on 3 fronts. Eventually it will escalate and get worse and worse and worse. Now you've got America, they're looking really bad. They're trying to say, no, you can't do that. What's happening behind the scenes? You've got part iron, part clay. You had, I believe Turkey got into a row with the small hats, with Bibi, about a week ago. They got into an argument at a UN assembly. So these nations, people are starting to pick their sides. And, they pick their sides because they're really disgusted with what they're seeing, or they don't agree with it, or, it's all pretty much down to religion. And so this is where we're at. The Most High is building up Bibi, building them up to such a head of steam that they can't turn back. And that's when you'll see the other nations come in, but then they'll have to come in the 3s and 4s. And then the more nations that come in, allies start to come in, and then it starts to build up, and all of a sudden you have a big party. So, but like I say, it all goes back, when you look at the UN, they have a major part to play in all this, because even though they're complaining, there's people stepping up in the UN complaining about Bibi, they're allowing him to carry on with it. They're also here with the pact for the future. Who influences them? The elites. Everything boils back down to the elites. It says, the best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. So that the day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity. And you're going to see. So you're seeing it now. Netanyahu's getting confident. They're on this ground invasion of Lebanon. It's going to start to escalate. It's going to build. It's going to build. The more that they keep going without retaliation, they're going to put more forces into it, and make a bigger impact. And like I say, he's obviously trying to do it without causing World War III, but at the same time, he's trying to do what he's doing. It's like, he's like your kid that gets excited. You get away with something once, twice, 3 times. After 5, 6, 7 times, you go, well, nobody's going to catch me. And then before you know it, you're what they call a career criminal, and you're just doing it all the time. So, and then you build up to this point where you have this arrogance in your mind, like, I don't really care, that's me, that's what I do. And so they're getting to that point, and then obviously, like I say, when it comes back in, when all these other nations start to join in, it's going to get out of hand. World War III will get out of hand. The banking elites want war, but nobody really necessarily wants World War III, because, like I say, it means ICBMs, and it could mean the total annihilation of America or wherever else. So, don't forget, these banking elites want to bring the MOTB. They want to collapse society. They want to bring the MOTB. They want to clear that land for themselves, which they installed themselves in there in 1948. But they don't want it to get to the point where the ICBMs destroy America, the chariots come, we go and fish them out of the bunkers. That's beyond. That's going back to Job, when their bellies shall be full, and then obviously Yahweh shall come and take them out, pretty much. So these banking elites are playing they're on a tightrope. They want to get this thing done, and they want to create that wall, they want to clear that land, whatever else, but they don't really want to take it that to a certain level. The Most High is going to allow it to escalate to that level. And so by Iran being the nice guy and not retaliating as much as people expect, it's allowing Bibi Netanyahu to build up a head of steam. Nations like America and the small hats fall out with these other nations. It gives them the excuse to eventually shoot the ICBMs on America. Well, why would you shoot ICBMs on America if they're on your side? Well, they're not on our side because they're not stopping the small hats. So, like I say, you don't just press an ICBM for nothing. You've got to really have a real big problem. And so the Most High is creating that problem. He's developing it. It's moving nicely. And it's all coming into perfect timing. And I said it before, the second half of this year, the Hebrew calendar year, is going to get hectic. We've got 5 months to go. 1 month has gone. We've got 5 months to go. And we've just had the announcement of the pact. And we've had the sovereignty of America handed over to the WHO. And you've got Bibi now, sticking troops on the ground going into Lebanon. And so would you think, that's 1 month gone of the second half of this Hebrew calendar year, the year of the R and the Tha, from March to March, end of February-ish. So, one other one is Hebrews chapter 12. It's Hebrews 12 and 25. You can see here it says the unshaken kingdom. Hebrews 12 and 25 says, see that ye refuse not him that speaketh. For if they escaped not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall we not escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven. You know, the Israelites in the wilderness couldn't get away from the curses when Moses told them, look, you don't do this, curses. And you know, they found their hand, but they couldn't get away from the curses. So what now? You know, all through this book, this judgment is spoken thousands of years ago about the time that we're about to see, spoken from the heavens, and you know, nobody's going to get away. It says, see that ye refuse not him that speaketh, and that is Yahweh, ultimately Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. It says, whose voice then shook the earth, but now he hath promised, saying, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also the heaven. So when he spoke to Moses on the Mount of Sinai, you know, gave him the laws, and you know, the earth shook. But it says that yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also the heaven. You know, the governments. You've got the ICBMs flying through the air. The whole world. The whole world's going to rock, reel to and back and fro and shake, and so on and so forth. And it says, and this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of the things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. It says, wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace. It says, whereby we may serve the Most High acceptably with reverence and godly fear. It says, for our power is a consuming fire. And these people are about to find out. You know, you go back to Israelites like this, you know, Scooby-Doo. You go back to Scooby-Doo, they have no idea what's about to hit them. The whole world's weird. It's weird. Everything's weird. You know, this guy's worried about the dating scene. It's been weird, and where his life's going to be in 5 years, and how, you know, his money, where he's going to live, and what his life's going to be like. These people have no idea what's about to hit him. You know, people understand that the times we're in are strange. People understand that the world has changed drastically in the last 5 years. A lot of people aren't happy, but nobody has the answer, and nobody really sees where it's going. You know, they all think that's why they're fighting over Kamala and Trump. And, you know, they're fighting the governments over mass migration, you know, influx of foreigners into their countries, wherever you are. People are complaining about the monetary system, the inflation, and the price of goods, the hours people have to work. You know, for example, I found out the other day, I think they said that in 1985 in the UK, the average wage per person was about 15,000 a year, and the average house price was about 30,000. That's in 1985. And now they're saying that the average wage is 25,000, but the average house price is like 250,000. So, you know, your house is now worth 10 times more than what your wage is. Whereas you go back 30 years, only 30 years, not a long time ago, it was within my lifetime. And, you know, your house was worth double your wage, not 10 times what your wage is. So that shows you how the price of things and the money you have, you know, people realize they're working for nothing. People out all around the world are working from month to month for literally nothing. And they have no idea. You know, the Most High's about to, like I say, turn the world upside down. You know, going back to the word search, you know, I mentioned this before, Isaiah 29:16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. And speaking to Esau. And so they've turned the world upside down. You live in an upside down world. Men are kissing men, women are kissing women. All sorts of shit is going on. So that all that has to be reversed. And the another thing that's missing from this world is the fear of God. So you have to take a world without the fear of God and make it into a world with the fear of God. So how do you do that as a God? You have to come with great judgment. Like I keep saying, Matthew chapter 24, Yahushua told us a time like never been seen before. So those, you know, if you're not up to date with it, You know, you got this, for example, like I say, the pact. Most people, you know, they see this situation, for example, with the war. They know war's going on. Maybe they realise how it's escalating. Maybe they don't. Maybe they see how it's playing out. Maybe they don't. But then you got things like this with the pact, the UN. You know, this is when Scooby-Doo really comes alive. These Scooby-Doo Israelites, that's when they walk in the room and they say, Scooby. Because Scooby-Doo ain't got no clue. So I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to leave the 2 links in the description box. I hope that's edifying. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.